Okay, let's jump right into this explainer. Today, we're tearing into the Master Trader's Guide, and I'm just going to warn you right out of the gate, this source material, it does not pull its punches. We are diving headfirst into the brutal, high-stakes reality of retail trading. We're talking real numbers, raw emotions, and complete devastating wipeouts. We're going to dig into exactly why so many people get absolutely crushed in the markets, and more importantly, these strict structural solutions this guide provides so you actually survive. Let's look at the data. Just take a second to process this massive, glaring number. 90%. According to the guide, 90% of retail traders fail. But here is the truly chilling part. They aren't just losing their pocket change. They are losing absolutely everything. We are talking about people who start with $1,000 and end up at absolute zero. The market is completely, undeniably ruthless to anyone who treats it like a get-rich-quick scheme. The divide here is just brutal. Looking at the 2024 and 2025 data cited in the text, you see this massive zone of traders who are constantly bleeding money, literally hemorrhaging 20 to 30% of their entire accounts every single year. And on the flip side, just a tiny little sliver pulling consistent profits. The source makes a fascinating argument here. The majority aren't losing because the market is actively rigged against them. They're losing because they step into this highly volatile arena relying on pure, raw emotion instead of cold, hard logic. Let's look at exactly how fast that lack of risk management destroys you. You open an account with $500. You see a flashing green opportunity, pure excitement hits, and you throw in $400. Bam! The market turns, the red candles drop, suddenly you're sitting there with $100 left. Panic sets in. Desperation kicks into high gear. You throw that final $100 in, literally praying for a bounce. It dips again, zero. Liquidated. Game over. The source notes that this agonizing, insanely fast plunge to absolute zero happens every single day, just because traders walk in without a safety net. And, the author of the guide actually confesses to this exact visceral pain. They wrote, "I blew up 3 accounts before I understood this rule." Just imagine that feeling for a second, going all in, desperately hoping to win your money back, and watching it all burn 3 separate times. It's a gut-wrenching experience that completely breaks people, financially and emotionally. So how do you actually stop the bleeding? Well, the guide gives us a strict mathematical antidote, the 1 to 2% rule. Instead of risking a massive chunk of your capital on a gut feeling, you cap your risk at a maximum of 1 to 2% of your total account on any single trade, period. So if you have that same $500 account, you only ever risk $5 to $10. If a trade completely blows up in your face, you drop to $495. You sleep perfectly fine, and you live to trade another day. The source emphasizes that this incredibly simple math is the absolute foundation of your survival. But here's the catch. Math only works if your emotions are in check. And that brings us to the second massive mistake, emotional trading. This quote from the text perfectly captures the absolute poison of revenge trading. You lose $200. It stings, right? The screen flashes red, you get angry, and you want to punish the market and force it to give your money back. So you take bigger, wilder risks. And by the end of the day, a painful $200 mistake has snowballed into a catastrophic $800 disaster. This whole chaotic mess really boils down to FOMO, the fear of missing out, and overtrading. You're watching a chart pump up 5% and you panic buy at the absolute top. Opening 20 random trades a day turns the market into a casino, except here, nobody's bringing you free drinks. The professional solution? Shut the laptop, walk away after a loss, take a deep breath and come back tomorrow with a clear head. The data actually shows that professional traders often only execute 2 to 3 high-conviction setups an entire week. It's patience, not frantic clicking, that protects your money. Which leads right into the third critical mistake, trading completely blind. If you're just watching a price move and clicking buy because it kind of feels right in your gut, the guide bluntly calls that financial suicide. A real surviving plan requires ironclad rules. You need a specific technical trigger to enter, a firm stop loss to protect your downside, and a predetermined profit target to get out. Without that exact framework, you are just blindly hoping, and hope is a one-way ticket to that 90% failure bracket. Okay, now we hit mistake number 4, and this is where things get truly terrifyingly fast. Excessive leverage. Leverage is basically taking out a loan to magnify your trading power. Look at this math from the text. Without leverage, a 10% drop on a $500 Bitcoin investment means you lose $50. It hurts, but you survive. But if you're using 1 to 100 leverage, a mere 1% market drop, just one tiny, super fast red candle, and you are hit with a $5,000 loss. It is the instant, total annihilation of your account. Beginners log in, see these options for 1 to 500 leverage, and they think, awesome, free money. It is absolutely not free money. It's literally juggling dynamite. The survival rule here is strict moderation. Complete beginners should be using little to no leverage. We're talking 1 to 1, maybe 1 to 5. Even intermediate traders are strongly advised to cap it at a maximum of 1 to 20. Anything more than that, you aren't trading anymore. You're gambling while holding a ticking time bomb. Now, mistake number 5 might be the most overlooked trap of all: trading in the dark without a journal. The text argues that a trading journal is your ultimate feedback system. The top, most profitable traders obsessively log the date, the asset pair, the exact entry and exit prices, and, crucially, their emotional state for every single trade. Because if you don't log this data, you have absolutely no idea why you're losing. You're just paying the market for the exact same expensive lessons on repeat. The real professional edge is actually found on Sundays, during the weekly review. By digging into their journals, traders discovered these massive personal blind spots. They'll realize, oh wow, I always overtrade and lose money on Mondays, or that their absolute worst, account-shredding losses happen when they're angry. Meanwhile, their best trades happen after a full day of rest. This structured feedback loop is the exact thing that separates the blind, desperate gamblers from top-tier professionals. So how do you actually pull all of this together, stop the pain, and start surviving? The guide lays out a really rigid 5-step survival system. Step 1. Set your risk at 1 to 2% before you even open a chart. Step 2. Create a strict entry and exit plan. Step 3. Execute the trade with zero emotion. You just follow the math. Step 4. Journal the exact outcome. And Step 5. Review it all weekly. Just refusing to deviate from these 5 steps instantly puts you miles ahead of 90% of the market. Why? Because the vast majority of people simply refuse to be this disciplined. But even with perfect, machine-like discipline, you have to hear this stark, final warning from the source. The market guarantees absolutely nothing. You can follow every single rule, execute a trade perfectly, and you can still lose money. That is just the brutal nature of risk. And because of this, the final rules are absolute. Never ever trade with your rent money, never touch your emergency fund, only risk capital that you can literally watch burn down to zero without it ruining your life. Essential money breeds desperation, and as we've seen, desperation destroys accounts. Which brings us to a really deeply provocative question posed by the source material. Before you deposit a single dollar, you need to ask yourself, are you truly, emotionally ready to stick to strict math, to accept the inevitable losses without panicking, and to treat this like a serious profession? Or are you really just looking for the quick thrill of a casino gamble? Honestly, your answer to that question is the single most important risk management tool you will ever have. Think about it.